What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, host of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Back with you with another interview before the NCAA men's volleyball tournament. And with me, I have UC Irvine men's volleyball coach, David Kniffin. David, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Good to see you.
You too, David. All right, so I just gotta say, welcome back to the NCAA tournament. I know last year was tough being the first two out with USC, but talk to me about how it feels to be back in the big dance after missing it last year.
I mean, more volleyball is always fun. I'm really excited about just the field as a whole. I love that there's some anticipation that gets to build now. I thought it was great. We got that kind of preliminary expansion where we went from, four teams to six, then it built, and that's great. But being able to separate the contests by a full weekend, I think will be really good for the sport because you get these kind of effectively playing rounds to a quarterfinal, and then you get some time and the anticipation builds, and then you get a final four. So just exciting all around.
So, what was kind of the vibe on Selection Sunday? Because I know you all had to have been a little anticipated on it, though I never doubted that you would be in the big dance.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember back in 2024, and it was pretty clear, and we were sitting in the airport actually in Hawaii, and I remember Brett Sheward eating a terry chicken bowl, and somebody said, "Hey, we're in," and he just kind of said, "Cool," and that was our vibe in 24, and then here, I think we all kind of it seemed pretty clear. Certainly with the expanded field, removed a lot of questions. So we were all together, but it was pretty subdued. I think we're just kind of excited to see who we get to play.
I love it. So let's go break down your season and break down your schedule. So you're one of three teams that scheduled last year's Final Four, the others being UC Santa Barbara and I think CSUN. So what goes into that scheduling process, if anything?
Just our non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we love playing great volleyball. I think we have a great venue to host in. I think we finished the season this year ranked third nationally in attendance. I think the environment for anyone that got a chance to go to the Brent Center this year got to feel the kind of upward trend. And that's not just us. I think we're drafting off of men's volleyball as an industry is in a really, really special moment. So, bringing in iconic opponents, which most of the time tend to be your toughest opponents as well, is just something we've always done. And I think we have good working relationships with most of the coaches out there. I think we have a pretty neutral environment, so teams like playing in our gym. It doesn't feel super daunting. It's pretty neutral colors. It's a great court. Fans are friendly. And then I think just with where we've been at as a team, I think Irvine is one of those teams that everyone knows would be a great win if you could get them. But also, I think we feel beatable to some teams out there. And so we end up getting to kind of create whatever schedule we want.
I have covered my fair share of UC Irvine men's volleyball matches, and I just gotta say the atmosphere and the fan vibe was absolutely great. So I gotta give it up to the marketing and the students and whatnot. So that was some great vibes from the fans. So, what have been some of your favorite matches this year? And talk to me about some of your favorite matches, even though I think all your matches were amazing.
Yeah, I mean, first one's always great. Getting up there and just I would put the first match really as the collective of Santa Barbara tournaments matches, the three that we played up there, and that was just we hadn't really been tested. We were starting a couple of young outside hitters and effectively a lot of first year starters in various positions on the court for us. Really, at the start of the season, we were returning only two starters. It was Shane and Goss were our most seasoned players. Everybody else was a first time starter for us, really. So that was exciting. At BYU, just because it's such an amazing environment. And obviously both those matches went five. So that was pretty special. I think those are some favorites. I loved how we responded after we lost to USC at home and then went up to USC and got a win up there. I think that was pretty special, just being able to bounce back. That showed that showed some maturity that I didn't know if we had that in us. That was pretty cool. Um, and then I think just from an attendance and environment standpoint, in the Bren, that match with UCLA was pretty special. That was a near sellout, and felt like almost every seat was taken, and that was a good environment.
Yeah, you all have had some great matches. I do want to actually talk about the Big West. So the Big West is obviously daunting with the likes of every team being ranked in the AVCA poll. Talk to
Mm.
me about the Big West in your own words and how tough of a slate that is come conference play.
Yeah, I mean, it always has been. It's pretty established programs that have, and I think one of the things about the Big West is each university within the Big West really understands kind of who they are and who they aren't. And so you've got very different operating modes, very different funding levels at all of these different institutions. And yet they all seem to kind of find the guys that are right for them. Northridge finds the Northridge guys, Irvine finds the Irvine guys, Hawaii finds the Hawaii guys, and not to say that, some of these players wouldn't be good multiple different places. But I think you've got some coaches in the league that have been there for a while, and they just have a real good sense of how to operate and be successful within the constraints that they're given by their own institution. But yeah, it's a tough conference. I mean, top to bottom, and it's fun to know there's no gimmies on any night. We're coming in prepared for a battle anytime we play.
Absolutely. There's no gimmies when it comes to the Big West Conference. So I do want to talk about your team and this player in particular, Andre Jokanovic. He was named Big West Conference Freshman of the Year. He has just been a human highlight reel, and he's gotten you out of some sticky jams. Talk to me about Andre and his growth from match one all the way up till now.
Yeah, I mean, he came out. Obviously, he's got some heat on his serve. He's pretty creative in attack, and he's experienced. I think we come in and sometimes you look at a freshman and he's inexperienced in our league and inexperienced within kind of a cultural setting and an academic setting at university. But he's not inexperienced as a guy that's relied on to score points for his team, and so that's right away you could tell he had that good character, as they would say. In terms of attack and mentality to score points. But I think, some of the things that are maybe more subtle with him is he's an excellent passer. He sees the game very well. And I think, as is characteristics of some of the French players or players that have come through the French pipeline, is sometimes it almost looks like they're lazy when they're out there. And I think part of that is just seeing things really early, deciding when to put in energy and when not to put in energy. And so it's fun working with players that have that kind of vision for the game and experience. To watch him grow in terms of his growth, I mean, this will always be the case with freshmen, and it will especially be the case, I think, with the international kids. Just watching him become a better teammate, leader, follower, and just a more mature court presence. I thought, actually, through those Northridge games, I don't know that we played great. And then through the Long Beach, our last Long Beach matches, I thought mentally he was a lot more steady, even if the volleyball stuff wasn't working out well. So I've been impressed with that improvement.
You definitely have a superstar in the making. And it's not just him. There are some other players that have stood out, like Cameron Costi, who filled in for Joe Carlos following his graduation. You have Andreas Brink, who has risen through the ranks. Talk to me about other standouts and players that have kind of flown under the radar.
Sure. Well, I mean, remember, Aiden Rigg was doing a really nice job for us early, along with Cameron Costi. We were running kind of a modified 6-2 with those guys, running a double sub, similar to what you'll see from Penn State this week with their setters and opposites. And then Rigg went out with an injury that was season ending for him. He'll be back and healthy next year. But Cameron kind of got thrown into it and indoctrination by fire right there at BYU and played great. We got a couple wins out of that weekend, and I think since then he, for me, is I would say the most improved player in the league from the beginning of the season till now, and he just continues to go. So that's been exciting for us, especially in the setter position. And then you got guys like Trevor Clark that are playing out of position that is, came on the scene early and I think was leading the country for a while in hitting efficiency and just kind of a converted outside hitter moving into or maybe we should say converted uh, basketball player to a volleyball playing outside hitter at a junior college to a middle blocker in Division I volleyball. So there's some big jumps there, and he's doing a really nice job with that. And then Will Darcy's coming on strong. Has been big for us in some big wins, and has been holding down that starting spot for the duration of the season, which is a first for him. So that's exciting to see. Uh, and then our outside hitter position has really just been primarily two guys. It's been Anton Kiriakou and Andreas Brink, and we won some big matches with Andon out there, and now Andreas is back and healthy, and it's just nice to have some flexibility and options there because they bring different strengths. So uh, the guy that I think probably needs a little more credit and doesn't get talked about as much because his position doesn't directly score points most of the time is probably Shane Aitken, just from the beginning of the year all the way through from just a cultural standpoint and a quality of play standpoint. I mean, I've had people ask if our stats were wrong or somebody was coding incorrectly or if we were just, fudging the numbers a little bit because our passing was so good early. But I think Shane's a big part of that.
I was also going to mention Shane Aitken, and you definitely helped me out with that. Shane Aitken does deserve a lot of credit, as do all liberos. Hashtag justice for liberos. So I do want to talk about your team and their little saying, full credit to the boys. Do you know anything about full credit to the boys? And if so, what's that MO all about this year?
Yeah, well, look, first of all, full credit to the boys on that one. But I would say, anytime you got an Australian on the team, there's kind of this flywheel effect of team language, and it becomes kind of its own tribal distinctive as they start going. And I believe it started with Will. I believe it caught fire with his post-game interview against BYU, which was a great interview. And he led off with full credit to the boys. But I think it's a nod to Will. It's playful, but I think also there's some wisdom in that as well to put your teammates out there first and give praise to the people around you that are help holding you up, not just yourself.
I can confirm that Will Darcy was the one that pretty much started full credit to the boys. Even though Beck, when I interviewed him, he basically said the same thing, full credit to the boys. So, have there been any funny stories or memorable stories that you would like to share this year when it comes to the team?
I mean, yeah, time on the road is always time on the road. I think just watching how the guys interact in new places, certainly the amazement on their faces when they're in a big environment for the first time, especially, you get a kid like Andreas Brink coming from Denmark, where there's been some really nice Danish volleyball players coming out of there, but culturally speaking, you're not getting necessarily big crowds, and certainly not for matches that he played in the kind of the younger or lower divisions. So to kind of see those guys in a place like, looking around in the Bren Center when it's, over 4,000 people there against UCLA, or to be out in BYU where the crowd is just on top of you, and just to kind of during a timeout or between games pause and look at them just kind of looking around and taking it in. It's a pretty special collegiate environment that we get to play in. So that's at least one thing.
And then one last thing about the players. I know this year's senior class is a little light, but when everything's all said and done, what do you think you'll miss about them? And what are some of your favorite memories with them, with Beck, Weber, Will Darcy, and Aiden Schulten?
Oh, little shout out for the boys. I mean, Beck's just got such a big heart for his teammates. We say it, he's our first legacy player, but because his dad played here as well in the '90s, and so he's the first guy to kind of continue in his father's footsteps. But he's put his own signature on this place. Anytime we're prepping food or there's some active service to be done, his hand goes up pretty quick. So I'm gonna miss that. Shadi in so many ways represents, so much of what is special about an institution like this, where you can get a guy who's so high academic, so culturally set on the volleyball part of it. I mean, he's going to play volleyball for the rest of his life. He'll find beach courts to play on. He's doing that now. He'll find indoor leagues to be a part of, and he's just crushing it academically. And there's just so much to point to there that has been so wonderful. I actually don't know how he balances all of it, but it's inspiring on that. And just a good dude. And then with Will, I think I'm just gonna miss the growing up process with Will. I think when he came in for me, he had so many areas that he was so mature and so articulate, uh, and to watch kind of that the growth kind of fill in around those other places has been really fun for me, not just as a volleyball player, but just to kind of watch him learn himself and his own patterns. And he'll go on and he'll most likely play professionally next year. And I think he's in a really good spot where he'll know himself well. And I'm really excited to see how he leads himself in the years to come. Well,
Love it. Teran Rodriguez, host of Set Point on iSports Sports Radio with UC Irvine men's volleyball coach David Kniffin. There's a few more questions, then I'll let you go. I've talked about your players and we talked about the schedule, but what about your coaching staff? Shout out your coaching staff and talk to me about what they're all about and how they help you through everything.
sure. Well, Connor Dahm was kind of a late ad for us this year. We were operating a lot of the early part of the year. I wasn't sure where we wanted to go with staff, and it became pretty obvious that having a Connor Dahm mentality around would be good for us. And so, he's brought a lot of that same energy and focus. And Connor, I think in so many ways is the archetype of what you would want out of a UC Irvine athlete, in terms of attacking all areas of the experience. He was a guy that was just a dog in practice every day, was promised nothing in terms of starting time or opportunities, didn't travel for most of his career, and ends up, getting to serve in a national semifinal as a player. But then on the court, he graduates as an engineering major. He's flying planes with his brother right now, and then he's also just one of those guys that, if you're gonna live in Newport Beach and go to UC Irvine, he's also the same guy that's, he's up almost every day surfing or every afternoon skimboarding and just absolutely embracing the beach culture and lifestyle. So having a guy like that around that can just speak to how amazing this place is, because I think it's easy to drop into a space of just feeling like, oh, this is just how the rest of the world lives. And so to have someone out there reminding everyone every day, like, no, this is a really awesome place to be, and you should be super grateful to be here. And gratitude should look like 100% effort in everything you do. Uh, I think that's been a really cool thing about having CDOM on staff. And then Brinkley is another alum, and Brinkley just is greatness. I mean, he's so much about how he operates. He's working mostly full time in real estate now, and he comes in and basically donates his time with us. Um, but as a player, I hadn't met many people that saw the game like he could see the game even when he was at the university level, and his eye just continues to improve. And then he's got the ability to and the discernment to know how and when to deliver messages to, specifically the passers and defenders, but anyone on the court, just about how they can improve. And that's rare too, to be able to have the information, but then also to know when and how to deliver it. So that's pretty special.
All right. So we've talked about your team, your coaching staff. Let's talk about the matchup against Penn State. It's the 8 versus 9 matchup. It's probably a 50-50 matchup. Penn State's playing some great ball as of late. What'll it take to take down Penn State, and what have you seen so far through Penn State without giving too much info away?
Yeah, the things are the things they're on an 11 match win streak. They've won a bunch of five setters. So anytime you're winning a bunch of five setters, that says something. And I think this is a team that won't back down. They've got great cohesion. They seem very organized in what they do. I think they've got a EIVA Player of the Year in their midst. They're led by their block defense is led by some really nice blocking, and obviously the libero is coordinated with that. And um, I think they're just a good, solid team. They get to throw some different looks at you with their double sub they've been running. I think they've got a good identity on what they need to do from the service line. And honestly, it used to be that you could say, well, they're an EIVA team, and who knows, because have they played anyone strong? And that's not the case. You're watching these matches, and they've played some big boy volleyball. So I'm fired up. I mean, for sure, for me, this is the most fun of all the first round matchups, and I'm stoked. I mean, I love playing good volleyball, and got a lot of respect for Pav and his team. So just excited to go.
Yeah, this is basically the final hurrah for Mark Pavlik before he hangs up the clipboard. And it's sure to be a great matchup. And if you haven't got your tickets, get your tickets to Pauley for this Friday's match. So I want to ask you this, David. In all your years of coaching volleyball, what is your biggest volleyball ick?
Biggest volleyball ick. I'm not sure I know what that means.
Basically, it means something that when you see as a coach or see as a volleyball person, you just have a disgusted look on your face. And it could be range from many different things. I mean, Pav doesn't really have Mark Pavlik doesn't really have a volleyball ick. It could be somewhat ankle socks, like Derek Sullivan said, or it could be something that just really just irks you, like Alan Knipe did last year.
Uh, well, yeah, I'll give you a two-part. One thing that's really hard for me, and it's more like at the club volleyball level, when I'm out recruiting, and anytime I see a kid disrespectful to one of their parents, I struggle with that. The flip, uh, and I hope I never forget this. There's been times, but I'll point out, my first memory of Andrei Jokanovic was after kind of a brutal loss. I was watching him play live, and they were playing a team they should have beat, and in a tournament setting, which was really tough because they weren't going to make it out of the group play. And as I recall, the first thing he did is he went over and he hugged his mom. And so there's my two-part answer, my ick, and the thing that I would love to see more players do. Oh, there you go.
I love it. That's a great response right there. And you gave me a two-parter. I don't think anyone's really given me a two-parter like that. So hats off to you, David. So now this is kind of a fill in the blank question. This is a little bit more of a simple question. UC Irvine wins the national championship if they blank.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, if they play within their abilities and don't get distracted by the noise.
Love it. So one last question to you, and then I'll let you go. I know this was the first year of the Black and Blue rivalry without Alan Knipe. What were some of your favorite memories with Alan, and what were some of your favorite matches when coaching against Alan?
That's a good question. Let's see. We don't have anything super iconic with Allen over the years that I can think of. And the Black and Blue rivalry never really kind of landed with me the same way I think it lands with others in other sports. So I don't know. There's anything super iconic. Yeah, I don't know, Teran. I can't think of anything.
It's no big deal. You, it's there's been a lot of matches in the past, and Alan, you and Alan are both amazing coaches, and Alan definitely left a legacy at Long Beach as a player
Sure.
and as a head coach. So
Yeah.
before we get on out of here, do you have any other shout outs or thank yous you want to give out to when it comes to this whole season?
Yeah, sure. I mean, anytime you're running a program, there's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I think, we look at our development staff, or, putting the events together. Brand, or as you mentioned earlier, the marketing and external relations staff, these things don't just happen. The Terraflex doesn't just show up in the brand, right? I mean, people have to go put that down and make it look tight, and they gotta put good product out there, and our social media people need to get out there and keep crushing what they're doing. And so it's fun to be part of an exciting movement where I think we got a neat group of people that enjoy working together. And there's a vision for men's volleyball at UC Irvine that I think people are continuously buying into, and it's I feel like it's reinforcing the foundations of what we're doing, and it I think it's going a really good direction. And that's credit to a lot of different people.
Absolutely, yes. Their game day staff, their marketing staff, and I also have to give a shout out to Stacey King for always helping me out, and helping you all out, and helping all the media, especially during the Big West Conference. So I gotta give her a shout out as well. So,
Yeah,
but
sky's the best.
mhm. Listen, David, thank you for your time. A pleasure talking with you. I hope to see you next week, or hopefully maybe this week. It'll be doubtful, but I'll be watching your matches throughout the rest of the week. But he's David Kniffin. I'm Teran Rodriguez, and this is another interview before the NCAA men's volleyball tournament. I'll see
Thanks,
you all
Darren.
soon. Thoughts up.